Now there are only 3 data locations to set in Myriad. The data location, audio wall location, they're set in one area, and the directory location is set in another. So to get hold of the settings, you need to go to the settings menu here, and Myriad settings, Myriad file locations. That brings up this box here, and we have data locations. You set this and Myriad will automatically fill the folder with any other subfolders that you need. And here we've set it to be our D drive, our P² folder, and then Myriad. And if we have a look here on our window, we can go in D, P², and then within that Myriad folder, you then have these ones here. And the folders in this field, let's just go through these. If you did have an AutoTrack database as part of your system, you'd also see a folder in here called AutoTrack, and it's AUTOTRK, and that will contain your AutoTrack database. And that's if you're using it. If not, it won't be there. In this example, we don't have it. Commands, this stores all the commands that you set in Myriad. HTML docs, this is used for HTML default pages, which are used on the View menu in Myriad. The logs directory, that stores your PLY, your play logs, and possible rec logs as well, but you can change this. Remote edit, if you're using the remote voice tracking client, that would contain your remote voice tracking audio cache and your settings. Again, if you're not using it, then you won't see it there. Reports, this stores the user added cart and play log reports used by Myriad Manager. And schedule, that contains the station databases, the logs used in Myriad. And scripts stores the scripts that are available on the View menu. Any files dropped in here will be accessible straight away from the View menu. And then users. Also in this folder you can see here the computer3.lst. That shows the computer names of the computers accessing your Myriad system, and the viewitems.ini, which is a configuration file, and that sets what you will see and what appears in the View menu in Myriad. So that's the data location and what goes in there. And if we just close that back down, we can go back here, and so that's data location. We have the audio wall location, and you can use either folder for all of the audio, or you can split it up across various folders. Either way, all the carts over 10,000 will be in one folder, which could make for a very big folder, because if you did want, you could have 99,999 carts on your audio wall. So I would recommend that you keep the audio wall as small as possible, as this also helps to speed up any searches that you do within the find on the audio wall. The reason that audio wall isn't under the Myriad folder is due to the audio wall being shared amongst other P² products, such as Scoop, the newsroom software. So on this setup here, we have one folder to store all of the audio. If we wanted to, we could untick that and then decide on which folder we want to store 1001 to 2000 and each 1000 up to 10,000. So if we wanted to, we could just amend those and then the audio would be stored on there. Also, we have a button here for global audio wall settings. We'll click on that and take a look at what goes on in here, and then we'll move on to the directory location. So then we've got 4 tabs. The general tab here, this is where you can change the number of carts that you have stored on your audio wall. At the moment we have 9,999. To change that, just click on change, type in your new amount, and then click on set. You can decide what the audio wall picture file name extension is. So those are the pictures that you associate with each cart, and by default that's a JPEG. You've got default audio formats here. We're recording in stereo Windows WAV file 44.1 and PCM, and that's also the same for Scoop 3.5, which is the newsroom software as well, if you're using that. If you're not, then just leave it there. You might as well not touch it. Importing CD. This is the settings to do with the CD ripper, and here we've said to allow the internet to be queried for CD titles, so you can check in that, and you have to put in an email address in there as well. you can select whether or not you want to automatically trim the silence off the start of the audio, and then whenever you rip a CD in Myriad, it will use these settings. Here we can normalize the imported audio to 63%, and you can also say here, always normalize all imported audio except when using Smooth Edit. So those are the options there. Here are the categories. If you're not using Auto Track and you're wanting to use Instant Track just through Myriad here, we have the categories and then the genre mappings. So here you could add, you could delete, you could change things around dependent on how you want to run your music categories and your genres as well. So it's in here that you edit those. And then in the other field here, we have an option on the carts to find out more information about this artist using the internet, and this is what it uses, the query that it pops through the internet. So you could change that maybe for Wikipedia, or whether you want to use another website, you can change that there. And here the ISRC search URL, this is for the Performing Rights Societies, and so you can change that if you want. That's in by default. And then down here it's saying a little warning to consult P Square Limited before continuing. So you have some options here. Allow users to link carts to other files not stored in the audio wall. Store a copy of each cart's information in an individual file, and use and store copyright details in the cart chunk. So those are off by default. And again, I wouldn't touch those unless you've been told to by P Squared. So those are the global audio wall settings. OK or cancel. We've not changed anything there. And then we can OK that. So the final data location that you need to be aware of is the directory location. And that you get to by going to Settings and P Squared Directory Settings. And here we've got the location. We've set it to D, P Squared and Directory. The P Squared directory is the user's database, contains username, security permissions, customized preferences as well. The reason that it's separate from the other Myriad file locations is that the directory is again shared by all of our applications. So the window above also appears in Auto Track and Scoop as well. So it can't be integrated into the Myriad window. So the settings that we have here, we have the General tab, so we can change the location, automatically create users when they first use directory-enabled software. That's basically Scoop and Auto Track Pro. We have details of the other licensed computers that are licensed to have a standalone directory manager license. We don't have any standalone ones. We have directory already within Myriad Manager here, so that's why that one's 0 and 0. Security groups. So each user can be set to a different security group. At the moment, we've only got 2 users on this Myriad system, and they're both members of this all users group. So if we just highlight this and double click, you can see what changes you can make. So here as a security group, this one is all users, and basically this might as well be called the administrators security group, because you have access to everything. You can read cart range of 1 to 99,999, which means that you can see them on the audio wall, and write means that you can go in there and you can edit between carts 1 and 99,999. Again, if you wanted to change that, then we can go in here and change the details. So we could say we want them only to access carts number 1 to 99, plus we can also add in another one here, so you could say 200 to 500, and OK, and then that sets their edit rights within Myriad. So anything between 100 and 199 they won't be able to edit, and also anything above 500. So again, very useful, and you can have as many of those ranges as you like. Also down here in the other permissions, you can set here whether or not they can add, edit, delete shared instant card sets as well. So those are the shared ones across the whole of the Myriad system. So that's all of these settings under Audio Wall. In Directory, now you've got various permissions here just to read through. You can have personal contacts within the Myriad Manager, can add, edit and delete contacts, can add, edit, delete users, contact categories, personal websites, add and delete websites, add and delete and edit website categories, can edit the p-squared directory settings, and also can view the directory history. Now we're going to have a look at directory a little bit further on in the user security and history chapter, and also as part of the Myriad Manager overview. And in Myriad 3 here, got various settings to do with Myriad, and you can go in there and you can change those around as you want. Now, just a reminder, we'll be going back to this in the next module where we have a look at remote voice tracking, but this is what you will need to tick if you want to allow them to remotely edit the scheduled log in order for them to be able to do some remote voice tracking, but we'll come back to that. But just something to remember. So if you'd like to add a new group, then you can, and you could say this one is just for main presenters, and you could decide on how you want to modify those. You can change all of those around, and then you could have one for maybe you have an automation machine account that you want to sort of dumb down, and in which case you could just add them to that automation group. We'll have a look at groups again in Myriad Manager. Just go back into there, check that we haven't done anything wrong there, and to delete those out, you can just highlight them, click on delete, ask us if we want to. So we'll do that for that one and that one. We return back to our normal. So that is security groups, and that is system-wide there. And then the backup tab, that creates a backup folder, and it creates a backup of the directory database. So the directory is all your users and all your contacts as well. So you can either choose to ask the user to create a backup when they log in, or automatically back up the directory database. And you can decide how regularly you want to create backups, and also how long you want to keep those backups around before you delete them. So if we go and have a look here at this drive, this D p-squared directory, just minimize those down, and we go to our D drive p-squared directory, and then within that we've got some folders here. We've got files, which is basically a folder per user. We've got logs, and the logs here shows activities on the system which are used in the reports produced by Myriad Manager. And then we also have a directory database, which are these two here, and that holds all of the users' details and logins, and that is what gets backed up when Myriad does a directory backup for you. And they are the file and data locations in Myriad.